13 years ago, I left my fancy Wall Street job to revitalize the small town I grew up in, Talladega, Alabama. Since then, I've built a company that makes $23 million per month and employs multiple small towns worth of people. I'm not just rich in money, I'm rich in purpose and fulfillment. If you want an intentional and fulfilled life, follow these frameworks. What took me 2 decades to learn, you'll learn in less than 20 minutes. Education on YouTube can be the most powerful tool in the universe. But if you don't understand this, you're in danger. In my 20s, I got caught up chasing online money machines. I built SEO sites using cheap writers and backlink schemes to rank on Google. The goal was to make affiliate or ad money. It worked until it didn't. Every time Google changed the algorithm, I had to start over. I eventually realized I couldn't explain what value I was actually offering. And the market knew it too. Those businesses traded at low multiples for a reason. Here's the test I use now. Can I clearly explain the value I'm creating? And would someone pay for it even if the platform or algorithm disappeared? If the answer is no, I'm probably chasing a scheme. Schemes don't just waste money, they erode your confidence. You're constantly starting over, constantly reacting, never really building anything that lasts. Over time, that wears you down. The lesson: if something only works in the shadows or relies on a loophole, it's probably not worth your life force. If you want to build long-term value, start by shifting your focus from what makes money fast to what solves a real problem consistently. Pick one customer, one pain point, one thing you can improve over and over again. That's how you move from hustling to compounding, from playing defense to owning your time. And most importantly, that's how you build something you can be proud of 5 years from now, not just something that worked last week. If you're chasing wealth because you want a stable life, I have good and bad news. Money is only a small part of the equation. When I was young and working at Goldman, I tracked every single penny I spent. I once gave a homeless person a quarter and added it to my budget spreadsheet. I was making good money, but still constantly afraid of losing it. I missed networking, socializing, and living because I was too afraid to spend. That mindset cost me opportunities I didn't see at the time. Looking back, that was driven by fear, not strategy. The tricky part is that scarcity can look like discipline. You tell yourself you're being responsible, budgeting, saving, watching every dollar. But underneath that control is often fear. Fear of running out, fear of failing, fear of not being enough. And that fear keeps you small. It makes you say no to dinners, mentors, trips, ideas, the very things that create leverage in life. I didn't realize it until later that playing defense with money was costing me the actual upside I was chasing. Here's one rule that changed everything for me. Have a spending system you trust so you don't have to make emotional decisions every time. That might mean investing 20% automatically, saving 10%, and guilt-free spending with the rest. When you lock in the important stuff by default, you're free to spend on what brings connection, growth, and joy without second-guessing every purchase. That's when money becomes fuel, not a fear. When people tell young people it will get easier in time, that's not a platitude, that's math. I always knew compounding was important, but I didn't internalize it until much later. It's not just about money. It's time, reputation, skill, everything. I'd often think about decisions like, should I spend this hour goofing off or learning something useful? At 20, the difference feels small, but 20 years later, it's night and day. I started to really grasp this when I used a spreadsheet to visualize how an extra $500 a month could turn into $2 million by 60. That was a wake-up call. If my future self would thank me for today's discomfort, then it's probably the right call. I always knew compounding was powerful, but like most people, I underestimated what it could actually do over a decade. At 30, I sat down and built a 10-year plan. My goal was to grow Filterbuy to $70 million in revenue with strong, sustainable profit margins. At the time, that felt huge, almost unreasonable. but I believed in the process. I wasn't chasing explosive growth. I was committed to showing up every day, solving real problems, reinvesting in the business, and letting time do its thing. What I didn't see coming was how fast it could all accelerate once momentum kicked in. By 40, we had already tripled that goal. What once felt impossible started to feel small in hindsight. The realization shook me, not because I was proud, but because I knew I had been thinking too small, playing it safe, underestimating what could happen when you combine long-term vision with daily discipline. That moment was a turning point for me. I made a decision. I'm never underestimating a 10-year window again. Now I'm playing for something bigger, something that will outlive me. I'm on a mission to build the world's leading indoor air quality company. Because once you see what compounding can do, financially, professionally, personally, you can't unsee it. And once you believe it's possible, the only question left is, what are you willing to commit to for the next decade? The mindset shift that changed everything for me was this. Don't judge the value of today by what it produces, judge it by what it sets in motion. That applies to everything. Learning a new skill, building a habit, reinforcing culture, investing consistently, solving a small operational problem no one else sees. You might not see the results this week or this quarter, but compounding doesn't reward urgency, it rewards consistency. So here's the play. Pick one thing, just one, that your future self will thank you for. Then do it again tomorrow and the next day. That's how you stop chasing big wins and start building them. Entrepreneurship is lonely. If you want to be a successful person, it will test every part of you, your body, your mind, and even your heart. When I quit my job and started building, a lot of people I loved told me I was crazy. They meant well, but they didn't understand. Then, when I became successful, some of those same people resented me for it. That stung more than I expected. It made me question if I was doing something wrong. But I realized it wasn't about me, it was about their own insecurities. That's when I accepted that this journey would be lonelier the further I went. Envy is one of the quietest poisons in your life, and it almost always shows up from people you don't expect. Charlie Munger once said, envy is a really stupid sin because it's the only one you can't have any fun at. What makes it hard is that it doesn't always look like envy. It shows up as subtle distance, backhanded compliments, passive resistance, and the people closest to you, friends, family, even peers, sometimes feel threatened, not because you've done something wrong, but because your progress reminds them of what they haven't done. And that's the moment where a lot of people pull back. They shrink themselves to stay accepted. But if you want to do something meaningful, you have to accept that loneliness is part of the price. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you're doing it differently. Here's what I tell you. Protect your vision, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Not with arrogance, but with quiet conviction. Not everyone will understand, and that's okay. You're not building your life for their approval. Build a small circle of people who want to see you win. And let go of the idea that everyone you love will come with you on the journey. Success will cost you relationships, but it will also earn you clarity. The person who's made me the most money isn't a key supplier or employee or even a mentor. The relationship that's created the most wealth in my life is my marriage. I've been with my wife since we were teenagers. We married young. She's been my emotional foundation through every crazy chapter of this journey. In contrast, I've seen what happens when people pick the wrong partner. A misaligned spouse becomes a liability, not just in business, but in life. I never had to second guess if my partner believed in me. That gave me a kind of freedom I don't think I could have built alone. Everything in life compounds. Skills, wealth, reputation. But nothing compounds like the right relationship. The truth is, your partner doesn't have to understand every move you make. They don't need to get the industry, the spreadsheet, the late night stress. What matters is that they believe in you, even when you don't fully understand the plan. They encourage, not belittle. They ask questions, not cast doubt. They help you reset, not spiral. That emotional foundation is rare and is powerful. Because when things get hard, and they will, You don't just need someone who loves you, you need someone who protects your confidence. The wrong partner chips away at it subtly or overtly, and that's a tax you pay with interest. Pick someone who sees your potential, even when it's not obvious. That's the kind of support that multiplies everything you build. If you want to build something big, don't just ask, do I love this person? Ask, how can we grow together in the same direction? Look for someone who believes in your ambition even when it's hard to explain. Value consistency over chaos. Doesn't need the spotlight, but is proud to support the mission. As for red flags, watch out for resentment when you're focused, disinterest in your goals, a pattern of drama when things are going well. Your partner doesn't have to be in the business, but if they're not emotionally invested in you, you'll always be fighting uphill. As you chase your dreams, you'll be tempted to think about legacy. There are right and wrong ways to think about leaving a legacy. People think I inherited my family business, but I actually bought it. I grew up watching the dysfunction in family businesses firsthand. That experience shaped me. I now run my business with no partners, no family ties. The emotional baggage was too costly. I wanted a clean slate to build something with full control and zero guilt. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. Legacy sounds noble, but if you're not careful, it becomes a trap. People confuse inheritance with obligation. They think legacy is about passing something down at all cost, regardless of fit, interest, or readiness. But the truth is, you can't gift purpose. You can't pass down hunger, discipline, or clarity. That's why so many family businesses fall apart. Emotional baggage gets mixed with financial pressure. Loyalty starts outweighing logic. And soon, you're no longer making decisions based on what's best for the business. You're trying not to upset Thanksgiving dinner. I saw that dysfunction up close growing up. It's why I bought the business clean, with full control over my own destiny. I wanted the freedom to build something that was mine, not a hand-me-down with strings attached. If you're considering going into business with family, set the boundaries up front while the relationship is still strong. Ask yourself, would I hire this person if we weren't related? Are we aligned on the vision, or are they just along for the ride? What happens if this doesn't work out? Legacy isn't about giving your kids a job or forcing someone to carry your torch. It's about building something so strong that it gives the next generation the option to carry it if they choose to. Otherwise, you're not handing them a legacy, you're handing them a burden. It took me years to find fulfillment, but every single person watching this could find it in months once you understand this. I used to think if I had $1 million or $10 million, I'd finally feel secure. But every milestone just moved the goalpost. I realized there's no finish line, just a shifting horizon. That was freeing. It made me focus less on arrival and more on alignment. Building Filterbuy and creating value in my hometown gave me a deep sense of purpose. That purpose brought me more peace than any financial number ever could. Success without service feels empty. I hit the milestones, $1 million, $10 million, and every time I expected to feel done. But the finish line just kept moving. The money didn't give me the peace I thought it would. What did bring me peace was alignment. Building something I believed in, something that made a difference. Creating jobs in my hometown, solving real problems for families and businesses, building trust over time. That gave the work meaning. And this is what fuels me even more going forward. I'm on a mission to build the world's leading indoor air quality company, not just because it's a good business, but because I believe clean air is a human right. I'm also deeply committed to finding ways to give back, especially in places that shaped me. That's a big part of why I'm even doing this social media journey. I want to share the lessons, the scars, the real stuff, in case it helps someone else go just a little bit further, a little bit faster. That's the kind of legacy worth building. When I was 29, I was working at Goldman Sachs. On paper, it looked like success. But I remember sitting there one day, looking around and realizing I was basically a bookie for hedge funds, moving money around, optimizing trades. And I thought, this can't be the value that I leave behind in the world. That moment stuck with me. Now I get a genuine fulfillment from knowing I provide high quality air filters at an affordable price. That sounds simple, but it matters. To families, to businesses, to the air they breathe every day. That's value I can stand behind. So here's the unlock. Ask yourself what you're creating, not just what you're earning, not just how hard you're working. What are you putting into the world? What gets better because you showed up? When you find alignment between effort and impact, that's when the work starts to feel like purpose. And that's how you learn to enjoy the process even when it's hard. If you're feeling lost, watch this video on the career path I recommend to almost every young person I meet.